Hello and welcome. Ha 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 ha. I feel like I need an evil cackle to start the show off with. It's that time of the night, guys, where we gather around the holler goblin and we tell spooky stories. Hey, Cat Mama. Hey, Harry. How are you guys? Hey, Holly. Thank you, Harry. Appreciate that. So cute. How are you guys doing? How was your weekend? We're going to give everybody a couple of minutes to get in here. I'm just going to tell you guys right now, I feel like tonight is going to be a disaster. So I'm just going to go ahead and say it, and then that way things can only get better from here because, tonight has been so crazy already. I haven't even started the stream yet, basically, and like my eyebrows almost didn't even make it here tonight. They were not even going to show up. So I don't know, guys. We're going to see how it goes. But everybody tap the screen, send some hearts. Let's get into the TikTok atmosphere. If you're new here, here's what we do. We do paranormal stories, extraterrestrial stories, cryptid stories, unexplained stories, which is just weird stuff in general, and we do Glitch of the Matrix stories. So if you have a weird story that you want to share, feel free to hop up here, share your story. We want to hear your spookiest spooky story. Lodge is here. Hi, Lodge. Everybody tap the screen. Tap, tap, tap. If you got time to chat, you got time to tap. I heard that earlier today, and I was like, I'm stealing that. I'm taking that phrase. Because I can never get the one about napping right. If you're not napping, you should be tapping. I don't know. It just never works when I say it. Yeah, so let's get some people in here, get some stories going. Make sure everything's running properly. Looks like it is. How did you guys have a good weekend? It was pretty hot here this weekend for the first time this season. Like, I feel like all year we've had kind of like cool, mild weather, and it actually got pretty warm, which I appreciate because being that I'm part reptilian, I'm always cold, so I'm cold-blooded. The entire week has been off for you. Yeah, it just feels like there's like a disturbance in the force, doesn't it? Like something feels weird, something feels a little off. I don't know. But I'll tell you guys a little funny story. I dropped my eyeliner pencil and it basically attacked me, and I had like a big streak down my face moments before I went live, and I was like, you know what, tonight's gonna be a disaster. This is like definitely, like, I'm not superstitious, I'm super duperstitious, so at that point it was obvious tonight's gonna be a disaster. But in the 80s for the last couple of days, awesome. That sounds nice to me. I know some people, what in the world is this? Paranormal eyeliner, yeah. Somebody that doesn't have a username. That freaked me out. But yeah, so here we are, guys, gathering around the holler goblin, ready to tell some spooky stories. We are ready to kick off tonight. You know what? We always pick like a theme for the night, and I think tonight, I don't care if there's a theme, as long as the stories are terrifying. I want to hear the scariest stories we've ever heard tonight. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm manifesting. Guys, tap the screen, get some people in here. Yeah, I don't know, TikTok, since it's turned off warm weather, it kind of seems like it hasn't been all that busy. So I'm kind of wondering, like, if the summer months are not going to be a good time for the stream, because like our numbers have never been this low. This is the lowest that they've been since I like very first started. But yeah, we'll see. Bigfoot milk. That was a great story. right, guys. Should be able to request if you have a spooky story that you want to share. Feel free to come up, share your story. Um, oh, you had snow today on the mountains, though, right? Like, yeah, so that's kind of cool, though. It's weird to think about, like, everybody in the country is having, high temperatures, and then there are still some places where there's a little bit of snow falling. It's pretty crazy. Hello, Raven. So, anybody want to? Bobby, what are you talking about? Quit letting so many people in the box at the same time. Those people are my friends, and they come up here to hang out during the stream. So I don't know, like, um, yeah, well, the thing about it is like it gets boring if it's just one person up here rambling, kind of like I'm doing right now. And Ollie and Druid and everybody come and join the stream and talk about stuff. And, well, Chris was here, but he just disappeared, so I don't know what happened there. Let's see. You were hurt at work yesterday? Oh no, Raven, that's not good. I hope you're okay. Hey, what happened?
I'm not sure. I might have some connection issues, but hopefully not.
Yeah. Um,
I'm here,
yeah.
guys. I was stuck in traffic.
Yeah, exactly. It is fun to have Ollie and Druid and everybody up here. So, um, I mean, yeah, and like I was saying, it gets boring if it's just one person up here, like, because I can't possibly, like, talk enough to entertain you all. So, a lot of times, like, if they stop by and want to come up and hang out, I think it makes it more interesting and it makes it more fun because we have, Ollie is a magi and Druid is, I think Druid is a witch, right? I'm not entirely sure. And I'm an atheist, and Chris is a horror fanatic, and
I'm the idiot.
there you have it, folks. I don't know. I mean, I think it's fun when we're all up here. I always wanted to do that too, like to just kind of have like a panel of people come up and talk about wild stuff. So, on that topic, if anybody wants to hop up here, feel free. I don't know what is going on, why the number is so low. This is crazy. But I kind of had a feeling tonight was going to be a disaster, so not surprised. I'm not surprised, TikTok.
It'll be fine. We just started.
I know, but 37 people, like, it's never that low. Like, this is kind of like, am I getting bananaed? I can't even push the button to bring Lodge up. Okay, here we go.
Oh. Hey, Lodge.
Hey guys.
Hello.
Hey
How are
Chris, I
you?
finally got one of those glitch in a matrix stories, I think.
Oh, awesome. Can't
Maybe
wait to
here.
hear it.
Well, the, I really don't know how to I I'm scratching my head at this one yet, but I had told Harry on Discord about it and asked him if it's something I should tell on here, and he said, "Yeah, go ahead. They like those stories." And so here it goes. We had just gotten back from the college graduation of my oldest daughter. She graduated down in Colorado. We drove down and then we come back up. Well, anyways, when we were back, I had to transfer that car topper from my brother-in-law's car over to my wife's van. She was driving our house sitters home, her little sister and her kids and her husband and uh, her husband's brother. Anyways, so I had to put that thing on top because there was a lot of them and they were going to use it. And so I'm outside putting it up on the van. I got this little stool that I'm standing on, and I remember thinking because the sun was hitting my arms, and I take this blood pressure pill where I'm not supposed to be in a lot of direct sunlight. Anyways, I was starting to get kind of worried about that, thinking, oh, geez, I wonder what it's going to do to my skin. I better hurry up. So I just got it situated and I'm screwing those things in there, those little wing nuts. I'm getting it attached to those crossbars. And, uh, I kind of live right by the freeway a little bit. It's down a ways. And it's like at the end of the street and across this little tiny field. It's like right there. So I'm always hearing traffic when I'm outside, and plus the cars that are coming up and down the neighborhood that we live in. And I hear one of the neighbors pull up in their truck, but I'm not even paying attention to it because it's just one of the normal sounds. So I'm just trying to hurry up and focus on that, getting that wing nut screwed in there. Next thing you know, I see movement at the peripheral of my vision, like toward the top, and I just happen to glance up, and the guy he hits his little button to make the truck lock. And I just glanced at him and I recognized him and he was walking down toward his house. And anyways, I didn't think nothing of it. I just put my head back down and I kept screwing in those other ones. And I mean, I'm talking like, oh, he must have been about what, 20 feet from his truck at that point when I looked up and I noticed him. And about like a few seconds later, I heard that beep sound again. And see, the guy was walking, looking at his phone, and he must have just like hit his key thing, his key fob, and made it lock or something. But I hear that sound again, and I look up. I mean, I'm talking like 2 seconds later, just like right after that, I look up again, and the dude, it was like the same thing just happened. The dude was walking again, right from back where his truck was, about 20 feet from it, walking again. But he had, I, I don't know how he got that far that fast. It's like it just happened twice, and I, I sat, I was like standing there and I stared at him for a minute. I thought, what the I don't want to cuss on here. I was like, what the hell? What the freak's going on here? And I looked at his truck. I looked at him again. I'm like, whatever, man. I don't know what happened, but he must have just went back to his truck, and I didn't see him. But then I start thinking, wait, 2 seconds? How is that possible? It's like it just repeated itself again. Like I don't know how the hell that happened, but yeah, I don't know. You make of it what you will, but as soon as that happened, I thought of you, Chris. I'm like, I'm gonna tell Chris this. Like, what the hell was that? Maybe that's that glitch thing he's always talking about.
Yeah, that is strange.
It is. It was a weird one, but so this other story I want to share real quick is it's about those alcohol spirits that I talk about. Those things are bad, man. They really raise hell with you. Like when you're under the influence of that stuff, you're just wide open. You don't have any control really. They can just bother you, mess with you, and influence you, and do all these things. But this time, this particular story happened to me. Um, I was back on the res. It was I think I was home on leave from the Marines, and I met up with some friends, and we end up tipping some back. Well, I remember walking out to my house about like 15 miles out of town, and some other friends picked me up. And they said, yeah, it's just cruise around. Next thing you know, because I was only friends with like one of them really, and there was three brothers. We ended up getting in a fight, and I ended up fighting all three of them brothers. It was a pretty rowdy time, but yeah, I don't mean to brag, but heck, I put them on a run. I was kind of actually proud of that after the fact when I thought about it. I'm like, I fought three dudes and I won. Nice. But anyways, as I was walking away from that house, where we was at, we were pulled up back, and I was walking down by this cemetery, and I mean, I was inebriated at this point. I mean, it was so bad, like I couldn't even really see well. I was. That's like what I remember. And so I'm walking, and next thing you know, this person's walking with me, and they're telling me, they're saying, "Hey, um, don't walk over there, walk this way." And I kept hearing bells, like somebody throwing bells at me or something, like kind of behind where they didn't want me to go. They wanted me to cut through that cemetery. So I was like, all right, I'll walk. Yeah, don't walk over there. You hear that? I said, yeah. So I just kept walking that way through the cemetery. But at one point, they were telling me, who made those guys over there fight with you? And I said, no. And they told that person told me, well, it was this person. I don't want to say who it was, but they said it was this person. I said, really? Why would they do that? Like, he said, they're telling me, yeah, they're the ones that they actually got them after you. They're the ones that they wanted, they wanted those boys to tune you. So they're the ones that did that. I said, that's messed up. And I was mad. And so I start walking. That's where I don't remember anymore. I must have been blacked out or something. But the next memory picks up. I was right at that house to where that person supposedly got them after me. And when I walk in there, I confront that person, and they had no idea what the hell I was talking about. Like, no idea what I was talking about. And, anyways, that didn't end very well. It was an argument and everything, and that's what I know about them. They can do that to you. That wasn't no person walking with me. No, it was one of those alcohol spirits, and they were trying to raise hell, trying to cause division, trying to basically make me be alone and keep me like that, keep me in that state. But anyways, that person that was walking with me would never really show its face to me. Never would. It was always kind of staying to my left and like a half step behind me, but was talking like right into my ear. And I try to look back at them, but they wouldn't look at me. So anyways, that's one of my alcohol spirit stories. So careful when you drink, just do it in moderation, because that is a thing. They are real and they can cause you bad. All right, folks, I'm going to hop down. But thanks for having me up again.
Thank you, Lodge.
And thanks for the gifts. Whoever gave me those, I appreciate it.
All right, guys. Guest box is open. If anybody wants to come up, tell a story. Hell, I'll listen to a troll story. If you want to come up and just be a troll, that's fine too. Come up here and tell us the wildest troll story I've ever heard. I should add that caveat to the screen. Spooky stories, also really good troll stories. So as long as it's good, I don't care if it's like not true.
As long as it's funny.
Let's see. Got a lot of stories, but low on energy tonight. Yeah, I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. No troll stories, Cat Mama says. I don't know. Some of them are pretty funny, guys. I like a good troll from time to time, as long as they're funny. Like, that's all I care about. Also, I bought a Ouija board, so I'm going to stream myself contacting demons in about 2 weeks. Just throwing that out there. Hello, welcome.
Hey, I'm back.
Awesome.
I figured I'd change my name so it's a little easier for someone to pronounce it, but
yeah.
So some interesting things have been happening in my city as of late. So I live in the Michigan Triangle, and to give you a bit of context, before I had started talking about the ghost stories and stuff that I did last week, my city was hit by a tornado. And, I mean, everybody here is fine. There were no deaths, but I work as a janitor, and I've been noticing activity has been just exploding out of proportion lately. I'm currently working in an old elementary school, and Friday night, probably one of the eeriest things that's happened to me in a long time has happened, and I was going through and cleaning classrooms, and all of the closet doors that like the kids put their stuff in, all of them just opened all at once, every single classroom. I couldn't explain it. I don't know why or how, but it was just a very eerie sensation. And I'm not sure if the activity was riled up due to the tornado itself, because with a lot of the video footage that I've been watching of the tornado, the sound that was associated with it isn't like a normal tornado. It sounded more like a roar of some type. A lot of people have been speculating that, oh, it could be that of a dragon's roar or something like that, but it's hard to say. I've been seeing a lot of other videos on TikTok about strange supernatural phenomena happening across the globe. So whether that's what's going on or things are just stirring up because the ley lines are out of whack or what, I don't really know.
Interesting. So you said the doors open, like you actually saw them all open? You were able to
Well,
see them?
I didn't physically like it wasn't that I saw them open. It was I went into a classroom and I was cleaning and pulling the trash and I hear this loud thud and
Okay.
it sounded like it was on the ceiling, but when I turned around, all the doors for those closets were open and they were closed when I went into the classroom.
Yeah.
And I mean, just all the hair on the back of my neck started standing up. Like I started feeling like a fluctuation of energy throughout the school. And I just couldn't put my finger on what it was. So I went and closed all the doors and I stepped out of the room after I finished cleaning it. And then I went down to my custodial office and I heard like three more loud stomps on what would be the ceiling. And then I started hearing creaking noises. And a lot of the classrooms that I had opened that I was going to be cleaning, all of those closet doors were open again.
That's really
Definitely.
kind of crazy. Go ahead, Drew.
Yeah, I was going to say, it definitely sounds like you've got some poltergeist activity over there for sure.
I agree.
Yeah, and it's not just that specific school. Like some of the other elementaries that I've been in to help clean have also some eerie things going on as well. One of the ones that I used to go to for like summer school as a kid. Um, One of my friends actually cleans that school, and she would video the gymnasium. And in one of the videos that she sent me, there was chanting in the background. Like the PA system was completely off. She was recording. It was dead quiet. We were nowhere near the gymnasium, but when you look at the video, like you hear chanting and it's not like it's not English chanting. It sounds like an old dead language chanting. And
Is
I
there any
mean,
words that you were able to recognize at all from that chanting?
um the only one that I was able to recognize was open. And like it was just eerie because like the building for that school is near one of the Native American bogs in the area. So I'm not sure if it's got some kind of energy coming from the bog because I know there have been deaths all over the city. There were some deaths in constructing that school, like when it was first opened. I think it was like back in the 40s. So I'm not sure entirely what all is going on, but like I said before, all the schools have been all the older schools have been just heightened energy. I mean, I've also noticed heat blooms, cold blooms. Even the cemeteries have become more active too in the area. I've seen like, and it's not even the witching hour. Like most people usually go to graveyards and they'll see like um, ghost lights and such during the witching hour. But when I go to them, like I'm seeing them like it's clear as day. Like it'll be like 11 o'clock our time, like Eastern time, and the ghost lights will be out.
That's I would assume a lot of it because you said Native Americans, so I'm assuming that there's probably some type of maybe like some old spiritual side or something like that. I'm not going to go with the whole ancient Indian burial ground uh, cliche, but maybe some type of sacred spot for them or something like that.
No, I agree, and like I said, I do live within what is considered part of the Michigan Triangle, so I mean, it's hard to say what all is connected through that too. So
Very interesting. I'll have to look into the Michigan Triangle. I know that I did a video not long ago. Kentucky has a triangle as well. It's really interesting. I don't know how they kind of deduce these triangles or like the location of them, but that is pretty neat. So, and it definitely, I think somebody said poltergeist activity. It definitely sounds like poltergeist activity for sure. And being in a school, also, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's kind of an old belief in the paranormal community that adolescent children somehow manifest poltergeist activity. So, I don't know if you guys have heard that, but I think that's a really interesting
It's
theory.
Yeah, I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that, until they're told that it doesn't exist, children tend to be more open to things that are more or less what society deems as, um, fake or fantasy or make believe or, whatever other phrases people tend to use for the world unseen before they're basically indoctrinated to believe that this stuff doesn't exist. They believe it exists, such as the idea maybe imaginary friends are actually people that have long since passed that they can see, just as an example.
no, I agree with that. Also, to answer a question in the chat from Heather, I live about an hour from Lake Michigan, but no, I completely agree with you, Druid, with like children being able to manifest that stuff. The With how I was raised in practicing magic, it like at the age of 13, I was told that in the youth of children, they're essentially protected by the earth itself because they're considered innocent, and wild magic is constantly swirling around children, which acts as sort of a magnet, if you will. So I mean, it's very plausible.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Well, we appreciate you coming up. Is there anything else you wanted to tell us about? Any other activity?
Um, I mean, not off the top of my head right now. I can step down for now and let someone else pop on up. It was nice talking with everybody and answering questions and just kind of conversing back and forth.
Yeah, for sure. Well, if you think of anything else or if you want to share another story, feel free to come back.
Okay.
All right, appreciate you.
Yep.
All right, guys, tap the screen. I don't know what's going on. Our numbers are so low. We're never going to catch anybody tonight at this rate. Ollie, Druid, how you guys doing?
Hey, I'm doing all right. How are y'all?
Hanging in there like a hair in a biscuit.
I have a heavy metal thing on my head because I recently acquired it and now I'm liking to play with it. Or if you saw my latest TikTok video, you'd get what I was referencing.
I haven't been on TikTok that much this weekend. I've kind of been taking a little bit of a social media break just for a few days. And also, I accidentally uninstalled my TikTok and now it's all messed up. So,
Well,
my
to
FYP and everything's
clarify.
messed up. So,
In July, up here, we're having a fantasy fair. And last year, we had this Midsummer Fay Carnival, which was all like Shakespearean themed, and they roped me into playing the role of King Oberon. So I was asking if they were still doing this particular carnival again, and the friend that was in charge of putting on several of these events and whatnot, were like, yeah, I don't know if we're going to do the Midsummer Carnival, but if you want to play as King Oberon at the Fantasy Festival, you can. I said, I got one better for you. I want it to be the court of King Arthur. And she's like, all right, I'm down for that. So I've been spending a fair bit of money here and there acquiring items to best play the role of a 12th century version of King Arthur. And the most expensive thing I have purchased so far was actually my crown, which is metal, stainless steel, and yeah.
That's pretty cool, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very
Ali,
cool.
yeah. Ali, how you doing, dude? I'm surprised you came into the Discord call the other night.
Yeah, what was it? Was I off that day? I don't know what was going on. Um, oh yeah, that's right. I was having a half day. There was an event, right? And because of the recent storms in Houston, that got canceled. So yeah, I was just up late and I was like, oh, let me just check back on messages, let me read, and I was like, oh, y'all are live, let me just drop and say hello.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, guys, we have a Discord. If anybody is interested, we do have a subscription. You can find it down there in the bottom left corner. And we have a lot of fun over there, right, Ollie?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, me and Ali are actually gonna oil up and do some tarot readings. Or what was it? Was it the tarot readings or the Ouija board?
I think it was Ouija board.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
okay,
right.
yeah.
Somebody
So
was going to end up lubricated or something.
yeah, well, me and Ali are gonna do that actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, guys, the box is open if anybody wants to come up and tell some stories. We're ready. I know I am.
I can hear you guys in the back. No, I'm just finishing up meal prepping right now. That's it. But in just a bit, when I'm done, I'm gonna tell y'all a spooky story that happened to me in the morgue.
Awesome.
Yeah, it just
Yes.
reminded me. Something happened this week and it reminded me. So I'll tell you that story. But yeah, keep tapping the screen, y'all.
Yeah. Holly, you feel left out? Why? Because I didn't mention you in the Discord call? Yeah, Holly was there, guys. She was definitely there.
So we have eyewitnesses to this particular event that is supposed to take place.
Yes. Yeah. Sarah, do we have a guest?
We do actually. We have somebody in the box.
Awesome. Let's bring them up. Hello.
Hi.
Hello, welcome.
Hello.
You got a spooky story for us?
I've got a ton of things that I've been dealing with since I was like 11. I've dealt with ghosts, aliens, demons. I experienced a cryptid, which was the story that I actually came up to tell. So I was in a place called Hummel Park. It's supposed to be like one of the most haunted parks in the country, I guess, last time I heard. But at the time I was a practicing Wiccan, and I had another guy with me who practiced Wicca. And we were driving around, and at one point he told me, like, oh, if I see something, I'm going to ask you if I actually saw it, because I hallucinate sometimes. So that kind of set the precedent right there. So we're driving, and all of a sudden, like 3 times, his floor mats kept getting shoved up underneath his pedals. And so we had to keep stopping, and we ended up in all these random places inside the park. And next thing we know, we're at this little dirt road that just goes up, and it's surrounded by trees on both sides. And then you can go to the right. And we're sitting there just kind of thinking, because we were talking about how it seems like it's demons that are in the park rather than ghosts. And there was like this little old metal fence post in front of us, just two posts and like one of those X's, like a cross. And we're sitting there, and all of a sudden this really tall thing, it was like hairless and had like orangish peachish kind of skin. it ran by like a blur really fast, and it had to have been like over 8 feet tall because it was kind of hunched down, but it was still like at like 6 feet or more when it ran past us, like just feet in front of us. And we both looked at each other like, oh yeah, we definitely saw that. And then we started like taking off and going like 60 miles an hour down these roads, and there's drop offs everywhere. And I could hear something running along the car with us up until we got out to the highway, and then we just took off. the,
Wow.
the best way I could describe it would be almost similar to like a rake, or kind of like, I don't know if anybody's ever seen the movie Pan's Labyrinth.
Oh yeah.
That creature that had, and when she came down, that had the eyes in its hands. I didn't see any sort of features on it, but that would be like the closest description that I could think of to the way this thing looked.
Oh, so you saw Mitch McConnell. No, kidding. But anyway,
Oh, dude.
yeah, it could be possibly like either a cryptid or even, depending on where you're at, fey creature of some sort, or
I was in,
an extraterrestrial.
Yeah, I'm in Nebraska. I've experienced some alien things too. I remember my whole family saw it. One time I came out to my grandma's front porch, and there was this like strange golden light that was like shining down onto the porch, and you could see all these like little golden figures that looked like they were walking into this light. And my whole family, we just stood there and watched this for like 5 minutes, and then I guess we just went back inside. I was really young, but everybody was like, what the hell is that? Like, it was really strange. My house growing up was built in the 1800s, so I had all kinds of activities in there, demons and spirits. I got physically attacked by something when I was in the basement. I heard chains, what sounded like heavy chains dragging across the floor, and I was sleeping down there with my dad because we had like a finished apartment and the AC wasn't working, so it was cooler down there. And I tried telling him, I hear something like coming up on us. I hear chains on the floor, and he's like, if you don't shut up, you can go upstairs. So I just closed my eyes and I listened to him get closer and closer, and then they stopped right next to the bed. And I opened my eyes in time to see like this hand come up from under the bed and grab my ankle, and I ran upstairs. And when I got upstairs, I had burn marks on my ankle that shaped like fingers, 3 of them. So I'm pretty sure that was a demon.
It's interesting that you say that because I did an investigation one time where this kid had been shoved by an entity, and the prints were, it was like a perfect hand, but it looked like a sunburn. It wasn't like a bruise or anything, it was a burn, which
Yeah.
was really strange. So I think I know exactly what you're talking about when you say that.
Yeah. That's what was always in the basement that I had the worst experiences. There was another time I had all 3 of my dogs down there, and I kept seeing like shadows and stuff flitting across the wall, which at this point I was used to weird stuff happening in the house, so I was just kind of ignoring it. And all of a sudden my one dog jumped up and stood over me, and her hair was up and she was growling at the corner of the ceiling. So I sat up and I started yelling for my family because they were upstairs, and I knew they were awake, but it was like a vacuum almost. I could tell that nobody could hear me. Like my sound was just getting sucked up into nothing. And then I saw like this big black mass that was the size of the door, because my grandpa's old office was across from me. It filled the door and moved across the office. And then all 3 of my dogs took off running. And when they ran up the stairs, I ran up after them, and I could hear something like slamming up the steps behind me. I slammed the door and put like a crucifix on the door. And the second that I did that, I hear something hit the door. And then the next day my cousin was there, and I told him about it, and he laughed at me and took it off the door. And the second that he did that, you could hear something running up the steps again. And so I slammed it back on the door, and it instantly stopped.
Sounds like there's some type of, I don't know, otherworldly portal or something in that basement, if that seems to be the place where most of your events are taking place.
Oh,
Right.
I experienced crazy stuff on every floor of that house, but it was a 2-story built in the 1800s, but the basement was where the most violent things occurred.
Yeah.
Did
Did you ever cleanse the property or anything like that?
No, I ended up leaving there when I was 15.
Oh, okay.
Did anything follow you back?
when I moved to my uncle's, there was something in his basement, and I did use like oils, and I did like a protection ritual and a binding ritual and all this stuff. And my uncle's office door one night, after as soon as I had done that, that same night I was laying down and the office door just started slamming and shaking and banging, and it was very violent, like it was gonna rip off the hinges. And I had like a few experiences there, and then I always had this scary feeling, like I was afraid to go in the basement. And like I walked down the stairs one night, and this kind of like an amorphous kind of like blob went flying by the stairs, and it knocked me back. And I was also had woke up with the thing over me, and it was like I couldn't breathe, and then it went away. My brother had a similar experience where he was like being choked out by this thing.
Night hag.
I have no idea. It was something dark, and like I said, I think a lot of my experiences have been more so with demons than spirits.
Someone in the comments wanted to know if you knew anything about the history of the house or like who lived there before.
The only things that I know about the house, again, that it was built in the mid to late 1800s, and there were a lot of like when I found the blueprints, it looked like there were a lot of like passages like under the house, and there was a hole in this hallway closet that you could get down and crawl around. And of course I never did, but I always got a really bad energy off of it, so I never went back there. But other than it being built in the 1800s, I really didn't know anything about it. I was pretty young. I lived there from the time that I was 11 until I was about 16 years old.
Oh, wow.
And that's where I had my first paranormal experience. It was right after my grandma had passed away. I kind of shut down and I stopped talking to people. I just stayed in my room, and I had a computer, and I shut off the computer, and I could see my grandma sitting in this chair behind me. And then after that, I started talking again, and I started seeing things like shadow people. I was seeing shadow people through the computer, white and black shadow people. And then one day I decided, well, I'm going to see if I can see them without the screen. And I just turned around and I faced the direction that I always saw them run across, and I saw one run right in front of me.
Oh, gosh, that's creepy.
Yeah. It all started when I was 11.
Yeah, I actually saw, I don't think I've ever told anybody this story, but I saw a white, I guess what you would call a white shadow person one time. So that was really interesting. I actually hadn't thought about that until you just mentioned it.
Yeah, it was kind of a mix of both. When it would just randomly run across my room. I remember this again in my I stopped sleeping in my room because I started getting scratches, and again it was like 3 scratches and like all across my chest, my arms, my legs. And then I would hear these heavy boots like walking across the floor. And then one night I felt my bed like come down, like someone laid down next to me. And I got up and you could see the imprint. And so after, like, I just decided I wasn't going to sleep in there anymore. And one day I heard the footsteps again, and I got curious. So I went to the base of the stairs and I looked up, and there was a gap under my door. And I heard them walk up to the door, and then I could see like a shadow of big boots right in front of my door, like behind my door.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there was a time that I would sit in there during the day, but you started hearing what sounded like a rolling chair rolling across the floor really fast. And usually when I would hear that, I would get up and move. But one day I just sat there, and I was on the phone with my friend, and I heard it, and it was rolling across my floor. And all of a sudden I felt the floor like morph under me, like the bottoms of wheels as it rolled under me. And I screamed and ran out of my room.
Well, yeah, that's crazy. You've had a lot of experiences there for sure.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that ain't even the half of it. And it's weird because my dad had a lot of experiences too as he was growing up.
Oh, okay.
he told me about when he was in the Indian Ocean. There was this really weird groaning sound, and he was in a naval ship. He was on a battleship, and there was this really weird groaning sound that kept happening in the kitchen. And he went down there one day, and all of a sudden he heard all these plates like crashing and things just get like hitting the floor. And he took off running, and he ran up this ladder, and he could hear something following him as he got up and shut the hatch.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I was actually just talking about this the other day, how like haunted ships and stuff like that are especially terrifying to me personally. Don't know why, but yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I could talk about this stuff for like forever. I've had so many experiences in my house, the haunted park. I got chased by like a ghost vehicle, which was really weird. We were again at Hummel Park, and we started driving, and these headlights appeared behind us. And the woman that was driving the car, she's like, "They're following us." And I'm like, "Nah, they're not following us. Just keep going." So we passed the first entrance, and the headlights passed the first entrance. She's like, "Oh yeah, they're definitely following us." I was like, "Maybe they missed the first entrance." So then we passed the second entrance, and so did they. And so I was like, "Okay, yeah, they are following us." So she starts going like up to like 100 miles an hour, and it's crazy. It's this long, curvy road, and she's just flying, and you can see the headlights back behind us, and they're trying to keep pace or whatever. All of a sudden, she's like, "You know what? Screw this," and she flips the car around, and I'm like, she was gonna play chicken with them, and she starts speeding back the opposite direction towards the car, and we see the headlights getting closer, and all of a sudden they just cut off. And so we were thinking they turned off the lights and they're going to jump out on us. So we drive past where the lights stopped. There was nothing. Drove past the second entrance, past the first entrance, nothing. And then we left. And I remember the vehicle was like an old, like 1940s, 1950s style red truck. And I found out that in that exact location where the lights disappeared, a little bit further in, there's an old 1940s, 1950s red truck with a giant tree growing through the middle of it. Like it had fallen off one of the drop-offs and, crashed to the ground like 70, 80 feet below. And it's been there forever. Like the tree is fully grown right through the middle of the truck.
We have something similar to that up here in Washington State, except it's a bicycle that kind of, I guess, got parked, and then nobody picked it up, and the tree kind of grew around it, and then it like fused to the tree.
Yeah. That's crazy. I also saw that same night. It's funny about the bicycle. I saw somebody on an old style bicycle with like the bigger wheels behind us, and then they went under a street light and then disappeared.
You must have like some type of clairvoyance.
Well, that's my family was an old Irish Scottish gun clan that was supposed to have the sixth sense basically. In terms of
another Scott Irish person. Awesome.
Yeah, I got Native in me too.
Don't have that one in me, but yeah.
Yeah, Mexican, Native, and Irish. But yeah, that my family is full of that, history in terms of being able to see things. And I've even had where there was a couple times with like unexplainable. So I felt like really, really sick all over, but it wasn't like inside. It was like this, almost like an aura around my body. And it was all day. I felt just horrible. And all of a sudden I got a phone call from my dad that my foster brother had accidentally set our garage on fire. And so I kind of associated that. And the second time that I had gotten that feeling, my mom was supposed to go bowling, and I was really uncomfortable and I didn't want her to go. And it was so bad that I decided to go there myself. And that night someone had set her van on fire in the parking lot.
I believe that's a form of clairsentience, the ability to basically feel things before they happen or feel something that is off. Like I've had experiences where I've walked into a place and the energy felt like there was something off. And then I found out like something negative had happened in that location recently. It's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Kind of similar to gut instinct, except that it's much more on a greater scale, as it were.
Yeah, well, and I've always had, I guess you don't want to really call it luck, but I've always gotten into that situation where everywhere I've lived, I've pretty much experienced things. Like even the apartment that I'm in now, when I found out the history about it, a lot of, people, like, I'm assuming jumping from the windows or something, but yeah, people, taking themselves out, domestic violence, cooking drugs up and things like that. It was full of a lot of dark
Oh,
history. And,
yeah. Oh, we just gotta be careful with the language a little bit.
oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
But I've seen a lot of shadows and things here in this apartment too.
Have you uh, done any preemptive measures in regards to protection in that current living situation?
Well, I'm Christian now, so I,
Mm.
kind of rebuke those things, and so nothing has actually happened to me here, except a few nights ago. I kind of like scratch my back sometimes if I don't have a back scratcher. I'll like use a plastic fork or something, and I don't think I did this because it just seems like it would be too much for me to do it without noticing. But I reached behind my back and I felt like 3 or 4 really bad scratches on my back all of a sudden.
So, if you're Christian, there's a couple things that you can do basically to protect yourself, such as hanging crosses or crucifixes, depending on if you're Catholic or Protestant. Both tend to also do prayers to Archangel Michael as well. If you're open-minded enough, there are certain sigils, angelic sigils, that you can place above your doorway as protection and whatnot as well.
I've since I've been kind of denouncing these things, I haven't had any experiences in my apartment per se, but it's more like around in the building. Like I saw when I looked out my peephole, I saw this black, probably a shadow person, but it just flew by the peephole out in the hallway. And I also saw like a massive shadow like looking at me from the corner because when you go down the hallway, it turns to the left where the other apartments are, and I could see something looking at me from that corner. And then it disappeared when I looked again, and I would have heard the doors are really heavy, like steel doors, and I would have heard the doors close or heard someone walking down the hallway, and there was absolutely nothing.
Right.
So I knew that whatever that was, it just disappeared.
Hmm.
Yeah. I think that I might have had attachments at a point because of messing with like the Ouija and doing all that stuff that I did when I was younger. Um so like I saw when I walked into my hallway when I was 19, I had my own place, and I all of a sudden there was like this 8 foot tall demon, the horns and everything. Like I couldn't see features; it was just a shadow, but it was like standing over me suddenly, and I ran running out of my hallway screaming. And I've dealt with like sleep paralysis and things like that. Thankfully, not in my older years now, but when I was younger, I
Always
dealt with that.
perplexed me about supposedly demons appearing as giant and fearsome with horns and whatnot, because just from my studies of theology and whatnot, it seems as though something that is trying to lure you to a darker path would probably appear as something that would be um, able to lure you to a darker path, something that you would be drawn to rather than something that you would run away screaming.
Well, and
I don't know.
I think its only purpose at that point, I know that they get delight out of scaring people too, and I think it just wanted to scare the crap out of me, which it did
Mhm.
successfully.
Or it could also be something that is non-demonic and possibly even, ultra-terrestrial, extraterrestrial, interdimensional, um, spiritual, or even natural, in the sense that there's a lot more spirits and creatures and entities that are beyond just the demonic nature of things. For example, the idea of the horns could be attributed to some of the forest spirits, such as Pan, for example.
Yeah, I was out in the country and it was just in my trailer all of a sudden. I could have even just been a hallucination, I suppose, but whatever it was, it felt menacing and it scared the crap out of me, and I ran out of my trailer screaming.
Fair, fair.
I'll tell you another thing that doesn't get brought up enough about this stuff is like you described this place, as being pretty old and it obviously has some history to it, and I'm a firm believer that like our consciousness has some ability to linger at times. It's entirely possible that there could have just been a lot of like really bad events took place on this property, and that would create the sensation of negativity and evil and maliciousness, because I think stuff like
Psychosomatic.
that's yeah, I think stuff like that sticks around, especially if maybe there were traumatic events sometime throughout history. There, I think that could probably account for some of that type of activity. But in my experience, like just as an investigator, as someone who goes in and looks for this stuff, that type of thing never really scared me too much. But it is intriguing, and I feel like it does exist. It's like our memories and our experiences, if they're of such a heightened emotion, can kind of leave an imprint where they took place. So that's another thing to think about too when you encounter this type of stuff, is that it may not be inherently evil or of some type of evil nature. It could just be that something really bad happened at some point in time.
I think that's what's going on with the place I'm in now, is that all of the, you know, I don't want to say the word because of TikTok, but people, hurting themselves, and the domestic violence, I think it kind of left a stain on this place. And it is a really old building. Like even the elevators, you have to like slide open the doors. Everything is still very old, and nothing has actually tried to like physically hurt me here. But like, it's all just been like visual and audio kind of things. Like, I was laying in my bed at 3 a.m, go figure, and all the lights were off. My roommate was sleeping, and I could hear something like punching the inside of my stove. And I just kind of like laid there and let it do this thing. Typically, I try to just ignore it when that kind of stuff happens. And after about 5 minutes of just banging around inside my stove, it stopped.
That's one angry pizza.
Yeah, right? It's the turkey from Thanksgiving.
There
Come
you
back
go.
to its
There you go.
revenge. Oh, that's funny. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the most of my crazy experiences would have been when I was in my grandma's old house. I mean, the place was so old it had a coal chute.
No.
Yeah. Oh, that's another one. So I was upstairs in my room, and I had my cousin staying the night because we were still young enough that it wasn't weird, and I had a bunk bed. So we were sitting there in my room, and all of a sudden we saw like this little red orb, and it was kind of floating in between my window, because I had a window. You go sit on the roof. It was floating between my window and the floor. And then we were sitting there watching it, and it got bigger and bigger and bigger until it was like the size of a giant beach ball, and it lit up the whole room red. And the closet doors were like those old folding style doors where you could, fold them open and then latch them to the wall. It flew in behind into my closet, and that door just started shaking violently, like it was gonna just come flying off. And we're both looking at each other like, I'm not doing it, you go do it. And then finally I got up and I flipped the light on, and the second I flipped the light on, it stopped. And there was nothing there.
Almost sounds like a will-o'-the-wisp, but those tend to appear outside. I don't think I've heard much of them being an indoors thing.
Yeah, and this thing it got massive, and it was so bright red that it lit up the whole room red.
Ball lightning, maybe? No.
No, it just appeared. We were sitting in my room just hanging out. My bedroom, my window to the roof was closed, and it just appeared and just started growing the longer that we watched it. And then it flew into that closet door. It had it open, and that door just started shaking back and forth as violently as it could. And then as soon as I flipped on that light, there was nothing there. It was just, and the door instantly stopped shaking.
So, did you at any point mention, like, with this house, where is it now? Is it still standing? Is it still in your family?
It is still standing. It's not in my family. We had some issues, and my mom lost it to the bank. And so, what's interesting too is that years and years and years later, I met a family in the Burger King that I was working at, and come to find out they had been living in that house, and they were getting ready to move. And the dad told me, "Oh my gosh, like we've experienced so many weird things there, and like we've gone through all this stuff. That's why we're leaving." So like, because they put it into a Section 8 kind of program, and so a lot of families have been in and out of there. And yeah, this man told me that they experienced all kinds of weird things. So they put in their notice, and we're getting ready to move out.
Yeah, that is interesting that you were able to talk to someone else that's also having experiences. We had a story like that the other night where someone, what was it, guys? It was like somebody's grandma or something, but the new owners kept seeing the old lady have like tea time, which was really cool.
Oh yeah,
I don't-
yeah.
it's just always cool to have that kind of validation, I think, because a lot of times, like in those experiences, you kind of question yourself, like, is this really happening to me? Is this like a real thing? But then other people experience it, so it has to be. But well, these are
Yeah.
really cool stories. We really appreciate you coming up. We don't have anybody waiting in the guest box. If you want to tell some more, or if there's any other stuff you want to talk about, feel free. And if there's any way I can investigate that house, send me a message and let me know how I can get in.
Yeah, like
I'd love to check that out.
I wish it was still, available. 'Cause I grew up there, and like I said, I never knew anything strange about it until I guess the death of my grandma passing is what kind of triggered that, ability in me to see things. So I had an old digital camera, the kind that a webcam basically that you would hook into the computer, and I went around and I snapped a bunch of pictures on each floor. And when I loaded them up to my computer, especially in the basement, I went into my grandpa's workshop, and he had these old lockers, and you could see just thousands of these golden orbs like flying up out of the lockers. And under the stairs, because there was storage space under the stairs, you could see like this long shadow of like a clawed hand coming out from under the stairs and stretching across the wall. And I caught something looking at me from around the bathroom door on the second floor, and just kind of like distortions in my room. I caught a lot of stuff. Like pretty much every picture that I took had something in it.
You don't still have those pictures, do you?
No, it was like this was like early 2000s, late 90s that this all
Oh,
happened.
Oh, back when the digital cameras had the 3.5 floppy disk drives.
Yeah, and this wasn't even a
Yeah, I
digital
had one like
camera.
that too.
This was like a handheld webcam that you could plug in through the USB ports.
Those were the days.
Yeah, right. Simpler times.
Yep.
But yeah, I got all those pictures. I remember one time, and again, like I don't mess with the Ouija board anymore because I feel like some of the problems that occurred later on in life were possibly associated to that, especially being young and just messing with them like I was. But I remember one time I had this ex-boyfriend that came over, and we had double French doors that would go into the den area. And I pulled out the Ouija board to freak him out. And I started saying, "Oh, do something, show yourself." And all of a sudden, the double doors started shaking really hard, and he got freaked out and left because I didn't want him there.
I guess that's one way to get rid of somebody.
Yeah. It was so. It was. I don't know if it was a coincidence. I don't know if somehow a wind happened to come in and do it at the exact moment, but it was right after I said that it happened, and it shook for a good couple of minutes. And he was like, "Nope, I'm out," and he just ran out of the house.
that's crazy.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, and I actually did have a genuine experience with the Ouija board because I was kind of like faking it till I make it with that experience. You know, like pushing it around myself a little bit, being all spooky. But one time, I had two other girls with me, and the other girl was a Wiccan too, and then the other one was a spiritual person, and so we were sitting around this actual like wooden Ouija board, not one of the Bradley, not one of the toy ones you buy in the store. It was a real one, and
Yeah.
we were sitting there with our hands on it and just kind of like willing our energy or whatever to just open up to whatever. And all of a sudden, like, I felt this kind of energy push through me. And then my hands started moving backwards. And I looked down, and both of my friends had their hands off of it, and they were staring at me like, oh my gosh. And pushed my hands all the way off the board and then stopped.
Dang. Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah. That
People who
feeling.
need to use Ouija boards to communicate with spirits are amateurs.
Oh man.
Yeah, well, and that was just like, again, I was probably like 14 or 15, and so it was more
Yeah.
of like the I don't know if gimmick is the word that I'm looking for, but it was more of like the aesthetic of doing it.
It was the edge thing to do. Hang on.
Yeah, and then for that to actually occur, like to feel something like push through me, and then to push my hands off the board, that was crazy, and probably one of the last times that I messed with a Ouija board.
Yeah. I think Sarah's gonna do a live Ouija board session here.
Yeah, probably gonna do one. Probably gonna be like, I don't know, a few weeks from now. But I may do like subscribers only. I don't know. We'll see how much backlash I get from live streaming a Ouija board. Because I know everybody always tells me like, no, Sarah, don't do it. It's like, why not? I've never had an experience. I've always wanted to have an experience with a Ouija board, and it's never worked out. So it's been on my bucket list for a long time.
I know I've heard some crazy stories. Like one that I heard recently, they put out this quote unquote Christian Ouija board, and they
Yeah, I
had,
got one of those.
yeah, that they were talking. They thought they were actually talking to Jesus, and the guy in the whatever it was that was communicating gave him the name of like a demon king.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and said that that was his actual name. That people were mistaken, so it was trying to deceive him too at the same time. But whatever he was talking to was like a high level, high ranking demon.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty odd. We've talked about that before on the channel. People, trying to contact the dead. I don't know. I feel like I'd probably try to contact Elvis.
You know what's
And
funny is that we actually did try to contact Elvis when I had that experience where my hand got pushed off the board. That's
are you
exactly what we were
serious?
doing. Yeah, that's exactly what we were doing.
What were you asking him?
Just to like show himself or give us a sign that he was there. And I just remember I felt something like brush my arms, and my friend felt someone touch her back.
Oh wow.
But whether we were actually talking to Elvis or not, I can't say. But that's who we were trying to talk to.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that. I just remembered that when you said that we were trying to talk to Elvis.
Ooh, how creepy. I knew somehow. See?
Yeah, right.
But did you get the distinct smell of peanut butter and banana sandwiches?
That I definitely did not. There was no smell, just touching.
Yeah, geez, I wonder why he passed.
You know what they say he passed from, but yeah, you never really know because no one was there with him in those last moments. So
Yeah, I actually really like Elvis a lot. I was like obsessed when I was younger. Ashamed to
yeah,
admit that a little bit.
I like all of his music. It's kind of one of those that goes across the generations.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, this younger generation doesn't know anything about good music, but before that,
Yeah. I'm sorry. Did you tell your alien story already?
I've had a few of those. So I think my first one, I was again at my grandma's house, and I was sitting out on the porch, and I remember the sky was looked really weird, like it could be a storm coming in, and I started hearing these weird noises, almost like sci-fi kind of like vortexy sounds.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, from the corner of my grandma's house, I saw something starting to emerge, and it was really tall, like 7 or 8 feet tall, and it had a really big head, and it looked like it was wearing some kind of robe, like a silver robe. And I just said nope, and I stood up and went inside and shut the door. But that's another memory that just sticks out in my mind because it was so vivid. Like I don't think I could have imagined that. I mean, I was probably like 10 or 11, but still.
Yeah, that's really cool. I personally love UFO stories, so I'm always down to hear those.
So in my trailer park, in my dad's trailer park, I walked outside one day and there was this yellow cloud, like this deathly yellow cloud over this trailer park that was next door to us. And there was all these like it looked like purple and red and like different color, almost like lightning inside the cloud. But there was a lot of people outside and they were all just walking around like there was nothing going on. And I went inside to get my camera, my phone, and take a picture. And when I came back out, it was gone. It was just hanging over the trailer park, though.
Huh? Yeah, that's odd.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of weird stuff in the skies too. Like I've pretty much been through everything on that list there. Like I saw a glitch, which was really interesting. I got off my bus. This was just maybe a year ago, and there was a police car flying up the hill with its lights and sirens, and it got to like the bus where I couldn't see it. There was nowhere where it could turn, and all of a sudden the sirens just cut off and it was gone. It was like it just disappeared into thin air.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, man, you've really had a lot of stories. You need to write a book or something.
I know. I've literally been through a little of everything. It's I'm 35 now, and I've pretty much seen like almost everything there is to see. Um,
Yeah, that's insane.
Disembodied voices. I did an EV one night. Well, I didn't intentionally do EV, but again, I was still practicing, and I did what was going to be for like lucid dreaming. I was chanting into this voice recorder to play it back while I slept, so I could have lucid dreaming. And when I went to play it back, I all of a sudden I heard a voice go, "Shut up!"
No.
Yeah,
Oh,
Okay.
that was in the basement where I had been attacked before when I did the oil on the walls and everything.
oh wow.
And my
Well, that's
cousin, yeah, my cousin was like, "Well, it could have been me," and but that was not my cousin's voice. And he lives up. He was living upstairs in the bedroom up there, and it was very close to where I was in the basement. So I was like, "Yeah, no, that wasn't you." He's always, even though he experienced that orb thing with me, and the something running up the steps, he's always denied these things. Like later on when I tried to talk to him about it, like I think he like kind of shuts them out to protect himself.
right.
Something like I remember too. He was down there talking to me, and he doesn't remember this either. But I went to lay down, and I felt something grab my hair and pull my hair back, and my head even like jolted back. And then I hit the bed, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, I just saw like a hand come out of the wall and grab your hair."
Creepy.
Yeah.
That's what I was telling and when I came in here. I've got like endless stories about things that I've seen, and
Yeah.
even like sightings and like alien sightings. That was the only time I ever actually saw what I think was an alien. But when I was in the country, I was laying in a field. It was with my fiance at the time, and this little light showed up in the sky above us. And because out in the country, you can see everything. You can see the Milky Way out there, and it started getting bigger and bigger and brighter, and lit up the whole field around us. And then it just was like an explosion, and it disappeared.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's crazy. Sarah, do you see that guest in the box as well?
Yeah, yeah, we do have somebody waiting. But you know what? We really appreciate all these stories. This was really fun. I hope you'll hang around with us. Tonight,
Yeah.
for some reason, is insanely slow, so I don't think we're going to get a lot of stories, but usually we do get quite a few. So if you hang around and listen and maybe come back up and share some more stories with us, we really appreciate that. This was fun to listen to.
For sure.
Yeah.
I ain't got nothing better to do. I'm off tomorrow, so.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you so much. These were all really cool. Really, and you're a good storyteller, by the way.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you.
But
Yeah.
we're gonna get the next guest in. We got a trucker. He always has some wild stories, so you'll definitely want to hang around for that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Thank you. It was nice talking to you
Thank
guys. And yeah, I can
Yeah.
come back up if it slows down.
Yeah, come back.
Alrighty, thank you so
Yeah.
much.
For sure.
Come back.
Oh, let's see. I was actually wondering. I was like, number one OP hater sounds a little trolly, but I'm feeling dangerous and I don't know, ready
Howdy,
to take
howdy.
a risk tonight.
Hello.
Hello, welcome.
Yeah, I changed my name. I'm like, I better announce it. I'm the trucker from last week.
Yeah, good thing you did, because we might have ignored you.
Yeah, sorry. The name is a gag for a friend that's a huge One Piece fan, and yeah, I had to pick on him. But yeah, so my wife wants me to tell the story of our house being haunted.
Ooh.
So we have an entity here. I'm not sure if it's a ghost, poltergeist, or exactly what it is, but we call him Toast Ghost because he has a fascination with our bread in our kitchen. We've had several different instances where he's actually physically interacted with things. That's why I'm like, I'm not sure if it's a ghost or a poltergeist or whatnot. But so one night, my wife and I are watching TV, and we live in it's a converted garage. And as far as we know, there hasn't been anybody that's passed on here or anything of that nature. So we're not really sure why this entity is here. But we're watching TV, and we have a full loaf of bread, and it's square bread, and it's a full loaf, and it stands up completely on end. Like, I'm like, I out the corner of my eye, I see it, and I look over, and I'm like, my rational brain is like, babe, why'd you stand the bread up like that? She's like, no, I saw it just stand up. I'm like, okay, I did too, but like, I just want to make sure I'm not hallucinating. And she's just like, no, I literally saw it stand up too. That's really weird. And so I have a laser pin that has a tip on it that splays the lasers out into like a grid. And so I turned it on, and you could see moving in the points of the laser like a humanoid shape moving around in our kitchen. And we were tripping on that for quite a while. And then about a month later, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, the ones that were with me on the trip where we saw the skinwalker, they were over visiting, hanging out. And our toaster, like something depressed the thing to make the toast go down, even though there was no toast in it, but they pressed it down. And like we are like, what was that? And then it popped up, scared the ever living daylights out of all of us. And yeah, just like randomly, our loaves of bread will get moved around, and it's so far it's been harmless. Like we don't get any like negative feelings from it, but yeah, it's just my wife is like, you should probably tell them about that.
Oh my gosh, that's so crazy. I've never heard anything like that before.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, if I was a ghost, I'd miss bread too.
right. I'm like, I got thinking, I'm like, what would I do in the afterlife? You know, if I was here, like, I would probably be just messing with people. Like, I would feel like that would be the funnest thing to do with my time.
Right, for sure.
Certain entities, if it's a ghost, certain entities are quite starving for something familiar. It could be a spirit of someone who basically died, unalived, unalive in the past, and it was probably someone that was quite hungry before they, croaked. It could be someone around. It could be someone who was homeless. Usually, if there are the unalived who are going after food, it's not all the time, but sometimes it means that they crave sustenance, like an offering.
I've never considered, that in reality. That's actually a pretty interesting story. And Randog, no, I've not left a piece of toast out. Like ants would be a problem, and I'm not about that. But, yeah, it's really weird because like it doesn't mess with anything else. It's just the bread and the toaster.
Yeah, it's really strange.
The
And
It's
hungry
really
it's
ghost.
it's still an ongoing thing too. It's not like it's something that's stopped. Like periodically, we'll still notice like the bread's in a different place, or we'll hear something in the kitchen. Like initially, our thoughts are like, okay, maybe it's something shifting in our trash can, but then we'll look over and like we have a bowl that we kind of leave our bread, our tortillas, and stuff in, and like the loaf of bread will be on the counter. And it's like, okay, so Toast, yeah, we've lovingly nicknamed him Toast Ghost, is back at it again.
That's so funny, and it's only ever been the bread that gets haunted.
Yeah, I've never noticed anything else. Like we have an air fryer right next to it. That's never been bothered. Like dishes. The countertop is kind of the catch-all because it's a studio that we live in. So my wallet, my keys, just random stuff shows up on there. Never noticed anything else besides, and it's only loaf bread, like muffins or like cupcakes, stuff that doesn't touch them. But just what
I know sometimes when we don't get bread or if it's in the freezer, the activity kind of acts up a bit
Oh
more.
yeah, my wife just brought that up. I didn't even think about that. She noticed that whenever we don't have a loaf of bread, like the random noises and stuff that we hear in the kitchen increase.
Oh,
So,
like he gets mad if you guys don't have bread for him to play with.
yeah, something of that nature. I never made that observation. To be absolutely honest with you, she's the one that noticed that. I'm like, that's interesting
Wow.
because now that I think about it, yeah, when we don't have a loaf bread, like right before we go shopping or whatnot, yeah, there are some random noises, and it's
Ghost
it,
just
it,
thinks they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. I don't know.
Yeah. And bread is
Make,
a representation of like wheat, right? So simple bread is very simple. Like what I do know of is certain deities would want some sort of offerings. Grain is one of the greater offerings, or even during Dia de los Muertos, bread is one of the biggest like pastries, or one of the biggest offerings we give to the the unalive, to our past ones. So it could also be basically, I mean, everything you're describing to me is this ghost is just a poor soul. It's just hungry. That's what it. Just a hungry ghost, and they're going after the most simplest of thing that can be recognized. Who knows how old this entity is, or what happened? If it's an apartment building, like a studio apartment, you said, right?
it's a converted garage into a studio. So like, there's a main house, and then they turned the like 3-car garage into a studio.
Um, I would check around the area, just out of like whenever you get time. Like I know you're a busy guy, but like I would just kind of like investigate around the area, see if there were any kind of like unalivings that have happened in the past few decades. And
So far as I'm aware, there hasn't been in this specific area, but the area that I live is really old. I live in Southern California in Bakersfield, and this area is one of the first settled parts. It was settled in like 18 like 65, 66. So I mean,
A
and
bread
this whole
ghost
area
in
used to be swamp.
Bakersfield.
Do what?
I said a bread ghost in Bakersfield.
Oh God, this now that I hear that, now it's not, maybe it's Mr. Baker himself. I didn't even think about that. Oh, that's
It
funny.
is just
Oh, oh,
delectable.
now it's starting to sound like it's made up, and I love it, but it's not.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Ollie, I like how you're trying to make some like profound explanation for this bread ghost. I was gonna say maybe he's trying to send you guys a message, like maybe he had an accident and got unalived at the Sara Lee factory or something.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, no, but yeah, seriously, the area that I live in, it's called Oildale, but yeah, it's the main city's called Bakersfield. But yeah, this area is quite old, and I think it used to actually be a business district back in the early 1900s. So I mean, there very well could have been a number of passing ons in this area.
Yeah, that's so
And not to
interesting.
mention, Southern California is really rich in Native American culture. Thank you for the gift, by the way. Whoever sent that, I didn't see that, but thank you. But yeah, yeah, rich in Native American culture that's been around in these parts for several hundred, if not well over 1,000 years. Because like there's the Tehachapi tribe, there's the Tohon tribe, there's the Tulare tribe. So there's like a bunch of different native tribes around here. So it's more likely than not that there have been passings in this area.
Gosh, I don't really know what to think about that. I mean, I love it though. I love the story. I know we're all kind of making jokes about it, but it's really interesting. I've never heard anything like that before. A ghost being, uh, obsessed with some kind of specific food.
Right. And the people in the main house, like I asked them if they have any kind of, anything's going on, but they're like, no, we've never seen or noticed anything. And the owners now, they've had the house for about 15 years, but I think the house was originally built in the 40s. So it's like there's quite a bit of history, but it was only converted into a garage about 7 years ago, or converted. The garage was converted about 7 years ago into an apartment. And so far, as far as I'm aware, because I know everybody that lived in the garage portion before me, so no passings directly in here. But yeah, maybe it's the ghost of Mr. Baker himself coming just to say hi.
Yeah, you need
Trying to get
to
that
try
bread.
and yeah, you need to try to film this or get it on video. That would be amazing.
Yeah, I actually thought about doing that. Unfortunate part is literally on the first time moving to Oklahoma, and I don't have any kind of like real camera equipment. I guess I
Oh,
could try and film. I guess I could try and film it with my phone because yeah, so like with that laser pin thing, yeah, and that like not a joke. Like you can literally see like the dots moving. Like I don't know if you've seen Paranormal Activity, but the one where
yeah,
they have the Xbox, it's almost like that when they're looking through the IR camera with the dots from the Connect. Like you can see an outline moving, but the dots go all the way through. It's not like they stop, but you can just see like the outline and they twinkle with motion.
yeah. Yeah, that is. Well, I mean, it's cool. Yeah, it's strange. So you're moving next month?
Yeah, you literally on the first. My best friend bought property in Oklahoma, and I'm like, I can't live without my bestie, so we're leaving with
Oh,
them. It's too expensive
oh,
here, anyways.
well, that's sad. So the bread ghost is gonna be left behind.
They'll put somebody in here to entertain him, I'm sure,
Yeah.
or
Just
maybe
we
he'll
want
come
some
with us.
bread.
But yeah, and I have another one if y'all have time, or if there's somebody else who wants to come up.
Yeah, no, go for it.
Yeah.
Okay, so this one is from my actual trucking days. So I encountered I I can only assume as a ghost because I thought I was talking to a real person when this happened. So I was picking up at DC in Wilmington, Alabama. There's like a cold food place there, and I was picking up a load, and I'd been at the door for about 6 hours. My time was about to run out, to where I was going to have to shut down at the door. So I go inside, and I'm talking to the person at the desk to see if they're done with my stuff, and she's like, "Go in through this door and go talk to the people loading your trailer." So I'm like, okay. So I go out on the dock, I find my door, and I'm talking to the loading staff, and I'm like, hey, you guys almost done? And so the guy that I'm talking to, he's like, yeah. He goes, we've only got two more pallets that we're wrapping, and we're about to put on, and you'll be done probably in 20 minutes. So I'm like, oh, all right, cool, not a problem at all. And so I go back out to my truck and I look, and they have these red and green lights by the door to let you know whether you're still being loaded or you're empty. And so I see the light is green. So I hop out my truck, I go back in there to get my paperwork. And so I'm talking to this guy again. And so I feel this tap on my shoulder, and I'm like, I turn around, I'm like, what's up? They're like, who are you talking to? And I'm like, this guy. Now, it's not like he disappeared. To me, he was still standing there. And I'm like, I'm talking to the guy that's loaded my trailer. He goes, there's nobody standing there. And I'm like, what are you talking about? So I turn around to face him. I'm like, this dude is losing his mind. Like, this guy is obviously here. I turn back around, and here comes a guy coming out of my trailer, a younger dude. He hands me my paperwork, and I'm like, hey, what happened to the guy that was helping you? He goes, nobody's been helping me. I loaded your trailer by myself. I'm like, what? No, I've been talking to the guy. You guys are, pulling a prank on me. They're like, no, you've been standing there talking to yourself. I'm like, what are you talking about? Go back. He goes, I'm going to show you the cameras because they have cameras everywhere. And so they show me the cameras, and sure enough, I'm just standing there just talking to myself. I'm like, okay, I need to go take some, like, pills or something because I'm losing my mind. I'm like, maybe I didn't get enough sleep. Maybe I was hallucinating. And so I get back out to my truck. I shut down at the truck stop in the town, and I start doing some research on the facility. And about 3 weeks prior to me being there, there was a forklift accident, and an older gentleman that looked just like the guy that I was talking to had passed away in the accident. And so I was like, okay, I've another one to the list. That one actually creeped me out because, like, the people were walking around, and I still could physically see this guy. Like, he wasn't see-through. He wasn't, like, slapping chains or none of that jazz. Like, I was just talking to a guy. And they're like, no, you've been standing there talking to yourself. We just thought you were on Bluetooth or something.
That's pretty
Do what?
Oh no, I was just saying, yeah, that's crazy. I feel bad for that guy though. I mean, that's sad.
Unfortunate part of those kind of situations when these companies, they want you to move so fast and get these things done so fast, and you got the drivers who are impatient. Like,
Right.
accidents do unfortunately happen in that nature.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked jobs like that my whole life, so I guess, yeah, I feel bad for the guy.
Yeah, I was just like, I was tripping out though. I'm like, I'm never going back there.
Yeah, that's pretty creepy. Yeah, I'm glad that you came on and told the stories because besides the glitch in the Matrix stuff, I'd been waiting for a trucker to come on and tell us trucker stories. So that's really cool.
Yeah, I really like some of the things that have happened to me, but some of them are just weird. Like, I don't think I've had any true, like, scary instances, like, as far as, like, ghosts. Like, the skunk ape thing where it got a branch thrown at me, that was terrifying. I don't know what the heck happened there. But, like, ghosts and stuff, nothing, like, scary's happened. It's just like, did that actually happen?
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. Did you have any more you wanted to tell us by any chance?
I mean, do you have any, like, specific, questions, about different things of the trucking industry that might have a story behind it? Because, I mean, I've had a lot of experiences, but I haven't experienced
Uh-huh.
everything by any means.
You haven't ever seen a UFO out there
Oh,
in your
yeah,
travels?
I've seen several. I told you guys about the one by Area 51, or not Area 51, but Las Vegas, Nellis Air Force Base.
Um,
I
I
thought
can't remember if I was here for that.
I thought maybe I told that on a different live. Well,
No, I think you did tell us, but I think Chris was asleep that night. That's why he doesn't
Well,
remember it.
oh, gotcha.
well,
Um,
I was just laying down.
So, well, there was the Nellis Air Force Base one, and then I encountered another one in Texas. I don't actually know where I was in Texas on this, but I was on the Interstate 10, and I was headed eastbound towards Louisiana, and it's all plains and fences and cattle. Like, there's no town, there's nothing around. It's about 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm just chugging along, just driving, not really paying too much attention because there's no real traffic around me other than a couple other trucks. So I'm listening to music, and I see off in the fields what looks to be. I initially thought maybe there was a rave going on because there's like a bunch of multicolored flashing lights, probably about a half mile off the highway. So I figured, what, it was the middle of summer.
The crowd of rotting, grasping hands.
Oh, sorry, hold on, I got
The cyanotic blue.
About that.
You're fine.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Sorry about that. But yeah, so I see all these lights, and I'm not really paying too much attention that they've gone away because where I'm driving, like you're gonna see them for miles because it's all flat. There's nothing around, and so I don't realize that they've gone away until probably about 15 miles down the road. I kind of look back over and I see there's no light. So I was like, okay, maybe they were finishing for the night. But I noticed that the grass around the area that I'm at, it's kind of like pulsating different colors, and like not like super bright and like LED like bright, but just kind of like old Christmas lights from a distance, just soft, like multiple colors, red, blues, greens. And I'm like, where is that coming from? So I'm looking around thinking maybe there's like a big electronic sign somewhere that's casting. It's like I can't find anything. And so I see ahead of me, probably about 4 or 5 truck lengths, there's a SUV. This SUV just floors it, just flies off into the distance. I'm like, okay, buddy, hurry to get to your funeral. Good Lord. So I'm continuing down the road, and I see the lights are getting brighter, but now they're like on top of my hood. And I had a red truck, so like certain colors you're not going to really see refracted, but the blues and the greens were like popping like really bright off of my hood, and I'm like, what in the heck is that? So I pull off to the side. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I step out of my truck, and I'm not a good judge of distance looking up because it could be 100 feet, 1,000 feet. I'm not really good at depth perception looking up, so as long as I don't have anything physical to reference off of. But this pulsating orb was above me, and it was there for about 5 seconds, and it broke off into about 8 different miniature colored orbs and just shot off in all different directions, and they disappeared really quickly. And I noticed the next day that I had a sunburn. Now, I hadn't been in the sun because at that time I was only driving nights, so I'm sleeping during the day, driving at night. But I had a sunburn, and I don't know why, but I smelled ozone for like 3 or 4 days, like that burnt electrical wire smell. No matter where I went, it was like it was stuck in my nose. And that was one of the weirder situations I've ever been in Texas, which says a lot.
At first I thought it was drones.
You had this in Texas?
Mm-hmm.
Why? You see this, Chris? Not me. and he got radiation, like probably like a dose of radiation from that thing. I mean,
I don't know if it was radiation as far as that goes, because like I said, it was just like a sunburn. So I mean, it might have been heat. I don't really know. I don't want to. I've been through radiation treatments for cancer, or I don't know if they'll allow to say that. Sorry, but yeah, for the C word, and it didn't feel anything like that. So I'm not 100%. I just know it was like a sunburn, and like that ozone burnt wire smell stuck in my nose for a couple of days.
Oh wow, yeah, something definitely happened for sure. I mean,
it sounds like it. It sounds
yeah.
And it could have been military because there's a bunch of military bases around the I-10 in that general area. It could have been, military drones just doing tests. But, like, again, I don't know of any technology that we have that will let something zip off in the speeds that these things went off. Because I would guesstimate they were about the size of a softball when they left.
Have you had any health problems after this experience? Was it before?
I've had a lot of health problems long before. Nothing really changed after. I've had several various different forms of the C word, and I have a faulty liver. I have a whole bunch of stuff wrong with me, but that was all due to medications that they had to give me when I was young to keep me alive because I was not a
Um,
healthy child. So, like, as far as I'm aware, I don't think there are any side effects that linger from that experience, like anything that was caused by that,
mhm.
or as far as that goes, like, so.
Okay. Well, I'm so sorry, but I'm glad you're breaking through. You're a survivor.
Oh yeah, it's just one of those things. You know, if you believe it's going to take you out, you will let it. Yeah, I think it's all of the mind, honestly. Oh, good lord, my
It is.
computer.
Yeah,
So
mind
I'm
it.
at work and my computer is deciding to do whatever it wants to do.
Yeah. Where in Texas was this, by the way? I'm sorry.
I was on the Interstate 10. It's southern Texas, but I couldn't really tell you because I wasn't near any towns. There's a stretch of highway on the Interstate 10 that there's like 80, 90 miles where there's no towns around. Like it's just all fields.
Okay. Just asking because I'm in El
Not a
Paso.
problem. Great. I'm getting a call from my drivers. I'm gonna have to step
Oh,
out.
okay. Then see you later. Thanks.
All right, bye.
I can't believe this happened in I-10. There's a
I
huge
know.
bout of I-10 in Houston all over the place. Not a single alien wants to come over here. I mean, we got salsa.
Yeah, I'm surprised you never seen a UFO before, Ollie.
I might have it, and I never probably paid attention.
Yeah, you need to look up more.
Some of that homemade salsa. I mean, there's a lot of people I bet that would travel galaxies to try it. I don't know. I would.
And our
Yeah,
birria is the best in the probably the country right there.
yeah. Toli sent me the one chip challenge. If we ever get some aliens that land down here, I'll try and give it to them. See what happens.
Or they might explode. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, tonight is really strange, guys. I don't know what's going on, but the number has like stayed at 50 pretty much the entire time. We've never
Yeah.
had numbers this low. I don't know what's going on. I considered restarting the stream, but at this point, it's kind of too late in the night to restart the stream. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and call it for the night because something weird's going on. This is not normal. It should have picked up after midnight and it's not picking up. Like, super weird. I know, Ali, you said you had a story that you wanted to share with us. Do you want to go ahead and tell that and then we'll call it a night?
Well, sure, I can share you this little more story. Um, sorry, I was doing dishes. This happened in one of the medical center hospitals. Around my first year, the rotations, of course, it was at night. Now it's been like maybe a week on the like 2 weeks for the night shift, right? So it was about maybe 1 a.m. Um, this was 2 weeks later. I was on night shift. There was a couple of very large, or a long, not large. Well, they are big. They were big surgeries that were like 10 hours, right? They started around like 8 p.m. and stuff like that. So the surgical floor was kind of busy. It's like, it's the graveyard shift. So all of the surgical nurses and the surgeons, they're busy with those, long, it's not too complicated, but long surgeries, right? Bone grafting and all. So kind of was empty. Patients are asleep. I'm doing my nightly rounds and I was a psych at the same time. So I'm doing like, some people who wake up for a panic attack. I was making my way around the uh, the psych ward, the inpatient area, and I was just checking up on any patients who had night terrors or anything like that, talking to them, or anxiety in the night. So I had a few of those, settled them down, had one prescribed, whatever, and then made my way down the main area of the hospital. So then I sat down with the nurses, and they were just, they're talking about ordering some food or something like that. Like, it was Whataburger. So it was Whataburger. So then, they ordered that, and that was like, someone's gonna go get it. So me and another RN, a lead RN for the night shift, we're gonna make rounds on the morgue area. There's some inpatient areas over there, so we're just gonna make our rounds. We have to do a walk, and I was like, yeah, let's get our steps in. So we're just doing a walkthrough and everything. And I remember there was something needed towards the morgue, because there was I don't know why those tools were there, but apparently there was a kiln over there that there's a sanitizer where you sanitize tools, and one of the surgeons for the morning requested he needed something very, very specific, a specific scalpel, and so on and so forth. So we were going to go there and get it. So we did. And if y'all have ever seen a morgue in a hospital, they have there's autopsies supposed to happen. The cadavers are out there, some of them, and it's very, very cold. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm going in, and the nurse is also there too, and the lights are on and everything. So we're just trying to grab some stuff, trying to find what the surgeon was asking for. And so the nurse was also talking to me and showing me things. And I find the scalpel and I get it and I put it in the bag for the operation, for day operations. So I hear a little noise. It's like a little crackle, but maybe like wood cracking. And I'm just like, I'm not thinking anything of it, right? The nurse is checking on some files or something like that. I forgot what she was doing. But she was grabbing something, and she kind of heard it too. And we're looking at each other, and we're like, all right. And we're like, we got everything we need? Because I kind of felt creeped out a little. And it was cold. It was freezing. And so, she's like, yeah, I think so. And then we're walking out. It's a big morgue. We're walking out, and we hear it again. And I look back, and you can just hear, because it's very silent, but I don't know if it was a fan or something like that, but you can just hear some sort of wind noise or breath noise. And I see over there, from some of those cadavers, the one in the middle in the back, you can see the white cloth go up. As
Man.
someone is breathing. And I'm just like, I remember her name, but I'm just going to say Jane Doe. I was like, ma'am? And she's like, I see that too. I'm like, and so we're kind of in shock right now. And so we can see it, right? We can see it breathing. I was like, do we call somebody? Is it possibly that there are, and she's just like, there's no way, it's probably a draft. So to secure it, we're kind of like idiots. We're walking closer to it. Oh my God. And I'm just like, in my head, I'm like, something doesn't feel right. And so what happens is, as we are walking towards it, now all of the cadavers, they're on this little tray, right? And they have wheels. And they're locked in place. They're always locked in place to prevent it from moving. Because it must have been an autopsy. There was a tag hanging out, and it was for autopsy. It was like, an unalive person. It was for autopsy. And we can still see this, from the head area, the cloth going up, like someone's breathing out. And I'm just like, ma'am, I think we should call somebody. Let's get the doctor here. She's like, I don't think a doctor can help us right now. I think we should call somebody. So she gets the walkie-talkie and she calls it in. And she's like, can I get assistance in morgue so-and-so? And as we are, soon as she calls that and she puts the walkie away, um, the table basically like a jerk towards our way. Like it just, the bottom half just jerks towards our way. And we can hear the squeak towards us. About a foot, I would say, if I can remember quite frankly. This is my first morgue experience, by the way. A foot of it just scoots our way, and that's it. That's when we get out. I was holding on to what the doctor needed. I think she left some paperwork. She dropped a file there. It was for something else, and we got out of there, and we were walking down the hallway, right? Because I mean, there's cameras everywhere. We didn't want to think of crazy, so we were like, and we're panting, right? We're panting, and I see another nurse and an orderly come down the hall towards us. They're like, "What's going on? Y'all asked for assistance." I'm like, we're just like in shock, like, we're okay right now. Can we just go collect ourselves at this at the nursing station? We need to go to the triage. And so we did. And so we were just, trying to get some coffee. We were kind of like in shock because me and her are looking at each other because we both saw the same thing. It wasn't just me and it wasn't just her. We both saw the same thing. And so we try to tell the other nurse that was there and the orderly that this happened. This time the security guard's coming over and he's like, "What's going on? Y'all seem stressed out." And I was like, "Dude, we are." And so so again, the orderly and all of us in a group, we go there. We have people at the nursing station. We didn't tell any of the other staff. It was just like about 5 of us. We go back to the area, walking over there, and I'm just like, we're kind of saying our prayers. She was Catholic, so she's trying to say her prayers. We go over there, and holy heck. So there it is. The lights are on in the morgue when we left, right? We left outside. The lights were on. Here, they're off. And I hear SHIT come out of her mouth. And I was thinking it. It came out of her mouth very loudly. And, the other nurse is like, "What happened?" I was like, "When we left, both of us, this light was closed. And it's a switch. You have to switch it off. I mean, this light was open. You have to switch it off. And we didn't switch it off. And it's off." And so we're just like, and the security guard just goes through. And he's like, "It's probably just a draft. Ain't nothing in here. Y'all talking about some spooky, SHIT." And the purple folder is right there. And, he like grabs it. It's like, "This it?" And I was like that. We're all kind of like dipping in. We're trying to check out if it's there. The thing is stable. Like we don't see the breath coming out, but the table is still like slanted as it was when it moved. And that was a spooky little thing that happened. And we just all left down there and kind of ate our feelings after that.
Did you go to IHOP afterwards?
No, we did not go to IHOP. I wanted to go home after that. So it was like, because, we're doing like, it was some 9, my shift for my rounds was 9 to like 6:30 in the morning. And so at that point, like I wanted to go the opposite way. I just wanted to go home. And I think I told my mom about that too. So she, at that time, then she like went to like from church or from a mosque. She got me like a blessed thread and she tied it around my hand at that time. That was when I was very young, like, early 20. So, but yeah, that was like a spooky and interesting thing. But that was the one of the few things that I did not witness by myself.
Very cool. Well, guys,
Yeah, it's creepy.
I believe we're gonna call it for the night because, like, I don't know, something's really wrong with this stream. I have no idea what's going on. I apologize. Hopefully tomorrow night will be better.
It's haunted.
I wish it was that simple. I'm thinking it's something a little bit more malicious than even the worst of hauntings. But yeah, definitely, you guys definitely tune back in tomorrow night. Be here at 11 p.m. Eastern. We're going to try this again. I don't know what's going on. Like, tonight's stream is just like an absolute bust. And we're not going to get on the FYP with these numbers. So, it's so weird. This has never happened before. But appreciate all of you that came on to share a story. Hopefully you all will come and join us tomorrow night. And we will see you all later. Thanks, guys, for coming. Appreciate you.
Bye, Sarah.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.